Baruchim Habayim! Welcome to Yeshiva University, where our core Torah values shape everything we do and guide us toward a better tomorrow. In the classroom and the lab, in the Beit Midrash, on the court, on Shabbat, and all around the city, New York City. Grow at your own pace with smaller class sizes, research opportunities on and off campus, over 150 clubs, 15 D3 NCAA teams, and top-tier internships at companies like Bloomberg, Google, and Facebook. Our Bayit is your Bayit. When it's time to play, and when it's time to pray. When you have a craving, when you need a break, when you celebrate, and when you shine. Come on in and meet your chavruta, your teammates, your professors, this guy. Connect with people from down the street and from down under. With over 80% of students receiving financial aid, Yeshiva University distributes more than $45 million annually to ensure that a YU education is affordable for all. Make YU your home base, and you've got all the bases covered. From first base to playing base, from this kind of base to the base medrash.
Come on, that's a stretch.
You can get where you're going faster with our Pathways programs, dual degrees, and partnerships. And when you're ready for the workforce, we've got you covered with a network of over 70,000 alumni. An astounding 94% of students are employed in grad school or both within 6 months of graduation. We are student-driven, outcome-driven, value-driven, deeply rooted, and forward-focused. Oh, and we also have all this. What are you waiting for? Experience YU and step into your future.
Welcome to Yeshiva University's Open House. My name is Mark Zarnest, and I am the Acting Director of Undergraduate Admissions here at YU. I want to start off and open by showing my Hakarat Hatov to Hashem for allowing us to be able to gather in person once again. At the Women's Open House, that got some applause, so I think that deserves some applause as well. Come on, we're back in person. What could be better? I also want to recognize all the deans and administration that are here with us, many of whom you will have the opportunity to interact with over the course of our open house program today. We know that there are many options for a college degree, and we are humbled that you have joined us today to hear more about what YU has to offer. There is no place else where you can learn from a rich assortment of Torah scholars, distinguished rabbeim, and world-renowned faculty. Only at YU can you be true to your Jewish identity and obtain the tools to be successful in the workplace while still being true to yourself. YU is the only college campus where the Israeli flag flies 365 days a year. These factors in itself are what makes YU such a vibrant community driven by core Torah values. We want this day to be informative, as you are making the important decision of where to go to college, and it comes down to fit. Where will you be able to thrive academically, socially, and spiritually? And we truly believe that YU checks all those boxes. So I encourage you to visit all our breakouts, hear from our faculty, our current and former students, and most importantly, ask questions. We are here to guide you through this process, so that hopefully we can one day welcome you to our community, the YU community. Of course, this is only the first step. Visit campus again, sit in on a class, check out the robust atmosphere of our Batei Midrashim, and have lunch and interact with our current students. So, as we kick off our program this morning, it gives me great honor and privilege to introduce Yeshiva University's 5th president, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman.
All right, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to Yeshiva University's Open House. It is so amazing to be back in person. Really exciting to be here. I see a lot of dear friends from years past to current and former students and prospective students sitting in front of us. It's really wonderful to be here. We really have an assortment of our excellent leadership, and it's my honor to be in the presence of all of them. Our Vice President, Doran Stern, is here. Applause for Doran Stern. So wonderful to see him. Our Vice Provost, Chaim Nissel. Where's Chaim? Chaim, I think, is here. We have Chaim is over there. Amazing. Chief Enrollment Officer, Chad Austin, is here. It's incredible. We're going to hear from him. All of our wonderful deans, Karen Bacon and Yosef Kalinsky, Mike Strauss, Noam Wasserman, everybody here with you today. We're so wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for coming. You know, there's so much to talk about when it comes to Yeshiva University and what we're doing in establishing a home for your students, for you, for your families, to pave the way for the future. You know, a frame that I saw recently that is very applicable is when Yaakov is in a couple of parshiot ago, when Yaakov was dreaming of his future. And he realizes that the place that he is laying in is a place that is holy. It's a holy place. He wakes up and he says, "Mana raha makom hazeh, ein zeh ki im beit Elokim, v'zeh shar hashamayim." It's a house of God and a gateway to the heavens. Rav Aaron Lichtenstein, I heard from our Dean of Reitz, Rabbi Menachem Penner, once asked, what is the difference between a bayit and a shar? Why are both of these images used to describe this very special place? And he answered that a bayit, a house, a home, is something that is contained by definition. It has dimensions. It's limited. Right? You can go in the home, it has things in the home, but you know where it begins, you know where it ends. A shar, a gate, opens up a pathway into whole other worlds, to an entrance, to tomorrow, to something transcendent. And this place is a bayit, it's a home, it's a house, and it's a shar, and it's a gateway. And I think of that when it comes to Yeshiva University. I'm so pleased and proud to introduce you, for many of you who've come for the first time, and for those who've been part of the Yeshiva University family for so long, to introduce you to Yeshiva University today, the flagship Jewish university that is built on core Torah values and that educates the leaders of tomorrow. We are a bayit, we are a house, and we are a shar. So if you are looking to buy a house, what are the first questions that you ask? What do you ask when you're looking to buy a house? Many people here have bought houses before. What are some of the questions you ask? Say again? Location. Location, location, location. Where is it? So I'm happy to tell you that Yeshiva University is located fully on a Jewish pro-Israel campus. Just mentioned before, Ziggy mentioned flying the American and Israeli flags, where our values are embraced and amplified and our students feel secure and comfortable. Sadly, very sadly, we cannot say that on college campuses in our country. But this is the truth about Yeshiva University. This is who we are. It's located in a place that is infused with your values and your ideals. So the first question you ask is location. Any other questions you ask when you buy a house? Okay, somebody said, how much does it cost? So let me tell you, it's affordable. It's in your price range. You can applaud that. It's in your price range. We've added so many scholarships and ways of channeling Yeshiva University directly to your interests and who you are. That Yeshiva University is affordable for every single family. And whatever the financial situation is, we are here to make it work. So it's in a great location, and it's incredibly affordable for whoever you are. Well, let me tell you some of the rooms and ways of channeling Yeshiva University directly to your interests and who you are. That Yeshiva University is affordable for every single family. And whatever the financial situation is, we are here to make it work. So it's in a great location, and it's incredibly affordable for whoever you are. Well, let me tell you some of the rooms that's in the house at Yeshiva University. We have a vibrant Batei Medrash. You walk in and you see not just one, multiple Batei Medrash with literally the greatest Rabbanim, scholars, Jewish leaders, and thinkers in the world today. There is no other place in the world today with the collection of Rabbanim, scholars, Jewish thinkers that are accessible to every single student like here on Yeshiva University. And there are many rooms here. You walk into our rooms, you could see a science lab, our computer science rooms, terminals in the business school giving access to the experience on the trading floor. On the 13th floor of Belfort, you'll find our new engineering lab. You'll find our new digital arts lab that's being built. You go up to we have an amazing library, amazing, where you find spaces to study alone or with groups, a scholastic and social experience. And this is a home that is cozy and that's warm. Our student to faculty ratio ensures that everyone's experience is nurturing and caring to your individual needs. This is so important. When you come here, you come not just to a house, but to a home, where the rabbis and faculty know who you are. When they write your recommendations for your graduate schools, when they help you get a job and a career, they know your strengths, right? They can help you in a ways that's rare for a college experience. And of course, it's a house that is fun. We have every sort of club, outings around New York, social events, and opportunities to explore your interests and discover joy and excitement. And it has a great gym where you not only can play, but you can watch the number 2 college basketball team in the country. How many people have been in YU from before? How many parents are here? Parents, grandparents? Can you imagine the Max in Division III being number 2 in the country? It's like you watch these games, and I heard an announcer from another team say it's like David against Goliath, but the Jews are the Goliath. Okay, and it's packed and it's fun. This is the evenings at Yeshiva University. You start off in a lab, you then go over to catch some dinner, go to a Max game, night Seder, and the library, right? I mean, it's unbelievable, the excitement and joy that's taking place on this campus. And in this home, Shabbos is amazing. It's amazing. You come to Yeshiva University for the academics, but you stay for Shabbos. Shabbos is amazing. It's a time where our students come together after a long week of studying and enjoying and being and having a time to rest and be together. Students, whether they are from across the country, international or local, stay for Shabbos, and it is joyful. It is amazing. And this is what you have at the home of Yeshiva University. But it's not just a bias. It's not just a home. It's also a shar. It's also a gateway. It's a gateway to yourself. We believe at Yeshiva University that education is not just a window to the world, but it's a light unto your soul. And you find yourself when you study and grow. You find who you are. Right? Each individual is born B'Tselem Elokim, Torat Adam, one of our core Torah values, and it's holy work to self-discover. And that's what we do here at Yeshiva University. We help our students find themselves. It's a gateway to your future careers. We're a top-tier university. We just moved up 29 places in the rankings and U.S. News & World Report 68th in the country. And because we're a top-tier university with excellent academics, our students get in to the most select graduate schools. And they get accepted into the most prestigious careers. And now, due to our opening of our Sheva Gladbach Career Center, they have a staff that is there to guide each individual to help them find the job and the career that's most suitable to them. And at Yeshiva, in the past 4 years, we've opened over 20 new graduate programs in the latest fields: cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, MBAs in person and online, MS in real estate, so that you have an accelerated pathway from undergraduate to graduate school. You could come here for 3 years after Israel, that many people do, or stay a fourth year and get a master's degree and go straight into your job, and it all be accelerated in the pathways when you're working through undergraduate. And we have a network of alumni that is unbelievable. For the YU Alumni Network is not just those who are alumni who came here, but what I found is that if you're Jewish, you're interested in helping Yeshiva University students. So our Alumni and Friends Network transcend the over 70,000 people, but way, way beyond. But it's more. It's not just a gateway to yourself. It's not just a gateway to your career. It's a gateway to the rest of your life. Who you marry, where you live, the lifelong relationships you'll have, both personal and professional, are all shaped by where you will spend the next few years and the relationships that you develop here. You know, personally, my closest friends are those that I went to Yeshiva University with. Some in this room right now. And the decisions that you make that will affect the rest of your life are informed in your formative years here in college. And finally, it's a gateway to Hashem. It's a gateway to yourself, it's a great way to your career, it's a gateway to your future life, and it's a gateway to Hashem. Through your learning, through your davening, through the core Torah values which you imbibe only at Yeshiva University, that you don't have in your other college experiences, you find the most transcendent moments here. It's a gateway that leads to a life filled with meaning and purpose, of chesed, of kindness, of giving, of community, and of values. This choice about where you'll attend college will determine much about your future. The way the world is moving rapidly with the competitive job market, the atmospheres on campus, for our proudly Jewish and Zionist family, and the importance of a lifelong network, make a YU education more important than ever before. YU has always been important. But today, the value and values of a Yeshiva University education is essential. And we are happy and proud to be a house and a gateway for you and for your future. We welcome you to our home and look forward to it becoming your home and a gateway to the rest of your lives. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, Rabbi Dr. Berman, for your remarks and, of course, for your leadership. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce what I think is the highlight of our open house program, the Student and Alumni Panel, moderated by our Chief Enrollment Management Officer, Chad Austin. These students and recent alumni will share their YU experience and how it developed them into who they are today. Don't be shy.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Rabbi Berman, for your words this morning, and welcome, everyone. It has been a long 2 years since we saw the Heights Lounge so packed with students, prospective families to YU. And we're beyond excited to have you here today at what we believe will be you, the next generation of Jewish leaders here at Yeshiva University. My name is Chad Austin, and I'm the Chief Enrollment Management Officer here at YU, and I could not be happier to moderating this panel of our truly stellar current students and even more impressive alumni of YU. It is our hope that what you hear this morning from our current and former students about their experiences at YU will resonate with you today so that you will one day picture yourself walking the halls, learning in our classrooms of this historic and vital institution to the Jewish people. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our panelists. I'm going to ask actually each and every one of them to introduce themselves, tell us where they're from, if they're a current student, what their current major is, as well as for our alums, what they're currently doing upon graduation here from YU. So we're going to start left to right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Max Friedman. I am a second-year student in YU. I am a computer science major. I'm loving the department. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. And I love YU. IBC, too. I'm also the IBC representative. And is that it?
Great. Baruch?
Hi. I'm Baruch Lerman. I'm originally from South Bend, Indiana, but now more recently Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm in my third year at YU. I'm a junior studying biochemistry. I am both in pre-med and pre-law, still deliberating between the two or possibly even doing both. We're going to see what happens.
Great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jonah Loskov. I'm from the Five Towns. I'm currently a senior at YU. It's my third year on campus in the Sison School of Business, where I'm majoring in finance and minoring in English literature. And I am in MYP in the morning, in Rav Simon Shir.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Kozlow. I'm currently a 3L at Columbia Law School. I grew up in Bergenfields, New Jersey, and I learned in Gush and then came to YU, where I learned in the yeshiva program in Rabbi Wieder's shir, and I majored in math and philosophy, and I was editor-in-chief of The Commentator, and it's very exciting to be back.
Welcome home.
Hello, my name is Adam Barron. I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey. I just graduated in May. I majored in finance and minored in real estate. I'm currently working at Goldman Sachs in the investment banking division. I was the SciSims president my last year at YU, and I had a great job.
Awesome.
Good morning. My name is Adam Brash. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Shalavim in Eretz Yisrael for a year after high school, then came here. I graduated with a computer science major in 2018 and then did smicha while working in the summers at also Goldman Sachs. And I now work at Goldman Sachs as a software engineer. And I still learn in the call here, Baruch Hashem, in the afternoons.
Welcome. Welcome home, gentlemen. So we always like to start our panels asking our panelists why they chose YU. What other schools were they potentially choosing, but what solidified their intentions to come to YU? So we'll start with Max.
So I think this is probably true for a lot of other people, but the big reason why I chose YU was the Jewish experience. My other choice was between YU and Brandeis, actually, and I knew a lot of people going to YU. I also knew a lot of people going to Brandeis, so I knew I was going to have mutual friends in either way. But I just feel like nothing beat the Jewish experience in YU, and I heard so many good things. So
Great.
Here I am.
Great.
So I was deliberating between Maryland as an in-state resident. It would have been great to go to Maryland, and YU, and then also potentially Columbia. I ultimately decided to come to YU in the honors program. There was one moment that really solidified my choice for me. I came here for a visit, December of 2018. I was going on a tour of the library. I went to the 4th floor, and I saw the rare book room. That moment was when I just made the decision YU was the choice for me. It solidified that YU has that connection to Jewish history. We have like original manuscripts from hundreds of years ago. I was just so inspired seeing that room that I just knew then and there I had to come here.
So when I was looking at YU, what I thought is that there's no trade-off between, on one hand, being able to get a top-notch, stellar education, be able to be taught by fascinating and captivating professors, be able to take interesting classes, and at the same time be able to be at a university that's driven by Jewish values, that has a vibrant Shabbos experience, that allows me to do morning Seder and night Seder if I want to, and at the same time, the way the structure of YU, if you look at the size of it, I think it's unique in the sense that the way that I look at it is it's a small school feel, but it has big school capabilities. In the sense that on campus, it's a small, meaning everybody knows each other. When you walk in the hallway, people say hi to each other. Professors know their students' names. The deans know a high percentage of the students' names. Rabbi Berman even is present and has relationships with students, which is unheard of at other universities. Yet the big school capabilities where all the extracurriculars that other schools have, YU has, and at the same time, students are getting into top places each year, whether it's law school, medical school, finance jobs, accounting jobs, or computer science jobs. So to sum up, it's on one hand, there's no trade-off between being able to get a stellar Jewish and secular education and be able to be in a small school feel while having opportunities beyond YU.
Yeah, in high school I considered Penn and Columbia. I ultimately applied early decision to YU and committed here. There are many, many reasons. I would say primarily my family has a very, very deep history at YU. My great-grandfather graduated in 1941. My grandfather graduated in 1966. He also was editor-in-chief of The Commentator. My father went here. Almost all of my aunts and uncles went here. Cousins went here. So it was really a family institution. And I definitely, in high school, academics were very important to me. So I looked into the honors program. I was impressed with it. That was a big reason why I came here. But I also was speaking with many, many of my family members. They all shared the experience of not only finding academics, having great Torah, great role models, and future career success, but they really all expressed what President Berman was speaking about, that all of their friends, and really lifelong friends, they made here at YU. And I'm only a few years out of YU, but in my experience also, my closest friends all went to YU, and I wouldn't have gotten that elsewhere. And just one more thing that I got specifically from YU was the ability to rise to leadership in an extracurricular, in my case in the newspaper. At a much bigger institution, that would not have been possible. But here, since it's much smaller, there are many, many opportunities for leadership. And also, I would reiterate that I had full access to deans, professors, and that all of those things really enhanced my experience. And I'm very happy I made the decision.
I have a similar situation where I was looking at some other schools, but applied early decision to YU and got in committed. For me, I was always pretty career focused, even in high school, which probably is pretty rare. And I was looking at, if I go to NYU Stern, where will I end up in life? And if I go to Yeshiva, where will I end up in life? And where I go, so those were the questions that I was asking. And just speaking to current students when I was in high school, or even looking at my dad who had gone to YU and his friends, you can see that there's not a trade-off there. It's not, if I go to YU, then I'll do this. It's, if you go to YU, you could really do anything, and that's pretty evident by the alumni and by the panel. And if it just, I knew that if I go to YU and I work hard, I can end up going to wherever I want to go. So, why lock yourself into a school where you don't really want to be? You can go to yeshiva and get anything you want out of it. So that's really was my motivation behind it, and I'm really happy I made that decision.
I originally wanted to go to Columbia, actually, to be an engineer. And YU, I don't know if they still do, used to have a joint program with Columbia. You can do 3 years here and 2 years there. And my parents said, we don't want to pay for Columbia tuition, so if you get into the YU honors program, you can go to YU for a few years and then go to Columbia. So that was the plan. After I got here, I discovered computer science, and I also discovered that I really liked the Beis Medrash here. I'm still here. So I very quickly decided that this was the right place to stay, given all the opportunities to grow in Yiddishkeit. I spent 5 years in Rav Rosenzweig shir. I'm still very close with him, and I still spend most of my day in the Beis Medrash here. So I haven't left yet, and I'm still here for a reason.
I might be biased, but I think you guys all made the right decisions. Max, can you tell us about making the transition from the Midwest, growing up in the Midwest, and then coming to a large city like New York City? How was that experience for you?
I'm going to be honest. I haven't been to New York that much. I don't know the location that much, and I wasn't really sure when I came here if I would like that big city life, but I've got to say I've definitely transitioned here. I absolutely love New York. I like in my free times on weekends, I will explore New York, go to Central Park. Fort Tryon Park is here in the Heights. We have that. But there are a lot of other out-of-town students here also at YU, so you definitely can find other people that you know, absolutely. It's not, YU is not limited to just East Coast. You have a lot of different diverse students who come here. So I gotta say, being from out of town, Midwest isn't really a factor in much at all.
I understand you were also recently elected as the IBC student representative. Can you talk about what those responsibilities entail?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, IBC is one of the 4 Judaic tracks that you can take in YU. There's JSS, IBC, BMP, and YP. I ran for it at the end of last year for this year, and what it basically means is you are a representative. You are somebody that can have a relationship with the head of IBC. You can make events happen. You can have merchandise happen. You have swag. You can get sweatshirts for the student body in IBC. You basically can do and make events happen in IBC. It's a fun time.
So, Baruch, you are one of our lead student ambassadors, which means that he actually works in our Office of Admissions, giving tours to prospective students and families and working with other prospective students. On top of that, you're also an honors student and in Yeshiva College. Can you tell us about some of the unique aspects of YC's honors program?
For sure. So there are a few things that really highlight the honors program for me. Number one is the courses. I love every single honors course that I've taken at YU. I find the discussions in those classes to be so fascinating, so many unique perspectives that I wouldn't have otherwise considered, such interesting material that we're covering, and also on such like a wide array of topics that I never would have thought I would be interested in, but then I was. I took a class about storytelling, which was all about modern TV, and I just found the entire thing so fascinating, and also an interesting opportunity to be able to watch TV as homework, something I never thought I would experience. Number two, which is really one of the main reasons why I joined the honors program, was the honors events. We bring in such interesting speakers, a lot of times in collaboration with the Sims Honors program. And also we go to Broadway shows, which I personally love, and just other things around the city that are just amazing opportunities to be able to explore and sort of just gain more experience as a person, just finding these interesting things to do that I probably otherwise never would have thought I would possibly be interested in, and yet I am.
You're also a rather involved individual, participating in many student clubs and organizations. Which role is most impactful to you?
That's a really hard question to answer. It's hard to choose just one. I gotta say, my favorite part about being at YU has been being able to be on student government. I've been on student government every year that I've been here, and I feel like I've really been able to make an impact. Last year, during the height of COVID, I made sure that I was on campus, and I was attempting to run as much in-person programming as we could possibly do safely and effectively. I really feel like I truly made a difference in YU, in trying to be here for other students, trying to be here as a student, to be here in person so that the yeshiva could be opened back up again. Last year I was in IBC. I was the IBC representative last year, actually. So a little bit of a connection there. So it was great to be able to plan the IBC JSS Shabbaton last year. I think we really made a difference in people's YU experience, trying to bring back some of that community feeling, even when it was so hard. And I think we really succeeded.
Great. Jonah, you too are an honors student, but in the Cy Sims School of Business, and you also serve as the president. Can you tell us some of the unique programming you do outside of the classroom?
Yeah, so the Sims Honors Program, the unique components are one honors classes, which have been some of my favorite classes that I've taken in my time in Sims, and the other hand is the honors events. So a few years ago, we developed a fireside chat series where we have interesting role models and individuals within the community come in and speak. So for example, over the past year, we had former Senator Joe Lieberman being interviewed by former president of YU, Richard Joel. We had, a few weeks ago, we had Wall Street Journal reporter Greg Zuckerman. We had Orthodox federal judge Matt Solemson being interviewed by the Dean of Cardozo. And we, just for another example, we had Emmy Award-winning writer and producer Alana Wernick, who lives in California. So we have a broad array of events that are offered to the students, and we typically get between 50 and 70 students to attend these events. And in addition to the events, we also have workshops which are building on a particular area. So we had one on how to be more productive, and we're going to be having one on basic financial literacy coming up. And the last component is that we are starting or trying to go on more outside of YU events. So in a few weeks, we're going to be going to the Lehman Trilogy on Broadway. So that's just a few different examples of what the programming outside of the classroom has looked like in the Sims Honors Program.
Great. Benjamin, I really loved how you spoke about the benefits of attending a small institution such as YU and how it gave you more access and opportunity both inside and outside of the classroom. Can you speak a little further about that?
Yeah, for sure. Just to reiterate the newspaper that I spoke about, that, I used to joke my senior year that I'm majoring in the newspaper and also doing some math on the side. It was a full-time experience, and it was unbelievable. I worked in the writing center here. Between those two experiences, I found that my writing improved tremendously in college. In law school, where we have to write all the time, I find that I came in probably more experienced than most of my classmates. I'm editor-in-chief of a journal now. I credit my my skills that I've built to my experience in YU. And also, even to expand on what I mentioned about access to professors and deans. President Berman, Jerome Stern, Dean Bacon, Dean Kalinsky, everyone here, Dean Nissel, I had one-on-one conversations with everyone here. They know who I am. I had one-on-one conversations with Rav Schechter, Rav Willig, Rav Rosenzweig. There's access to everyone. It's unbelievable. I have siblings and cousins at other colleges. There's no way you have as much access at a bigger institution compared to what you have at YU. And I don't know if you are alluding to this also, but a big experience of mine at YU also was staying in for Shabbos, and that also contributed tremendously to my happiness at YU. And even though I'm from Bergenfield, New Jersey, close to YU, I stayed in pretty frequently, and I loved it. It was amazing. A Rosh Yeshiva stays in most weeks. It's an enriching experience. You're surrounded by Torah and good food and friends, and I enjoyed that a lot also.
Adam, you told me about the YU Network and how they helped you when you were started looking for jobs and trying to get some real-life experience in your internships. Can you talk about that experience and how it benefited you?
Yeah, definitely. The YU Network is something that no other school has, and I know this because I speak to my colleagues every day, and they talk about how they sent out 1,000 emails and 4 people from their school responded, and I look at that and I can't relate, because in yeshiva, if you were to look up the people who had graduated in years past and reach out to any single one of them, you have a 100% chance of either getting a phone call, grabbing coffee, or meeting them in person. And I spent 3 years in YU building up an Excel sheet full of people's names, and just constantly meeting new people. Everyone was willing to help, and that expanded even beyond yeshiva. There would be someone who went to Columbia, but they would see yeshiva, they would know they have a friend there, they know what yeshiva means, that it's a Jewish organization, they'd be happy to help. So really just having such a huge network of people to talk to, and people who actually want to help you, and they won't just reply to your email, but they'll actually try to help you get that internship or try to help you prepare for an interview. That's something that you can't get anywhere else, and I use that to my advantage, and I'm trying to give back now, and something you really won't get anywhere else. So it was a huge takeaway and a big part of my YU experience.
Adam, how has your experience been in the Smicha program after graduating?
It's a pretty open-ended question.
We have plenty of time, don't worry.
Yeah, it was really just a really good opportunity to continue the tremendous opportunities that I had during college. You know, I didn't invest as much time in extracurriculars like outside of the base medrash as other people might have. I tried to spend as much time as I could in the base medrash, developing relationships with Rebbeim. And the Smicha program was really an opportunity to keep that going on a more full-time basis. So like I said, I was able to intern also in the summers while I was in Smicha, so I really had a good opportunity to sort of balance the two. And it really, I guess, has helped me get the grounding, you know, for the rest of my life to continue balancing the two of those, you know, well.
Okay. And as a computer science major, are you able to directly relate the experience you had here at YU to your work now as a software engineer?
Yeah. So Judah Diamond, who's the chairman of the department now, really tried to emphasize to us. He started here in my third year, so I had some classes with him, but the department has like really changed for the better since I've left. He emphasized to us day one and continues to that you're trying to be a computer scientist and not a coder. And what that means, in his words, is that a coder is somebody who knows the latest technology stack, but those change every 3 seconds. Like over my 4 internships at Goldman Sachs, the technology stack has totally changed. None of the technology being used year one, not all, but most of it was not used now. So becoming an expert in a particular framework was not really a useful thing. Like the more important skill is to understand the methodology of problem solving and developing solutions to problems, combined with an ability to learn the newest, latest, and greatest technology. And that was constantly emphasized in the projects that we were given and in the teaching that was done in the classroom. So even though like the particular technology that I used in the classroom and on a particular day is not necessarily what I'm doing on my job, the skills and the approach and methodology are really, you know, one-to-one.
Great. Back to Max. Max, have you been able to take the skills from the classroom to your role as the website manager for The Observer?
For specifically computer science?
Yes.
Yeah, the computer science department is great. Mentioned Judah Diamond. Judah Diamond is one of the best parts of the computer science department. He is just such an amazing teacher. He is, I think, the chair of the computer science department. And yeah, everything has helped. And not just that specific job. Also, I'm going to an IT job in YU incoming very soon. So I think it's something funny that when they interviewed me at the IT job, the manager said to me, he said, "You probably know more than me. I should be the one working for you." That just goes to show you what the computer science department has done for me in just a span of 2 years. So I gotta say I'm very happy with the comp sci department here.
Great. You actually took my follow-up question, so I'm just gonna skip that. Baruch, as a rather involved individual, how are you able to balance your academics, your outside clubs and organizations, and even competing on our NCAA fencing team? Is there enough hours in the day to do all that?
So sometimes it feels like there's not, but I think that one of the best things about coming here and what it has taught me is how to truly maximize my time and make sure I'm not wasting my time. I love doing things. There are so many things here to do. Benji was kind of talking about that. There are so many opportunities here because it's a smaller school, but we have so many different opportunities. I'm the president of, I think, 5 clubs. Of 5 clubs, and on the board of a good 15 others. I am on the fencing team and student government, on the upper staff of the Svarim sale. A lot of stuff going on. So it can be a challenge sometimes, but so long as I remember schoolwork is something that I have to prioritize, it has a lot of impact on my future. I have to make sure that I'm doing it. The extracurriculars sort of motivate me to make sure that I am staying on top of it. In high school, I was a major procrastinator, but I wasn't so involved extracurricularly. I always had a few things going on, but nothing major. Now I'm able to tell myself, if you don't do this essay before your fencing meet, when are you going to do it? So it sort of motivates me to make sure I'm making sure to actually do my work ahead of time instead of waiting until the last minute to cram everything in, which has been super useful to making sure that the quality of my work remains at the same level of quality throughout. So honestly, I think the fact that I'm involved in a bunch of things and doing things that require time has sort of actually made me a better student just because it's forced me to be a better student.
Well, thanks for making time to join us this morning. So, Jonah, you're a senior, right?
Yes.
And you're, God willing, graduating at the end of this year. And so about 7-8 months from now, you're going to be graduating. You already have a job lined up upon graduation. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do.
Can you tell us about what you're going to be doing upon graduation from YU?
Yeah, when I graduate, I'm going to be working at Morgan Stanley within their investment banking division. And I guess building off of Adam's previous answer about the YU network, and the way that the YU network is structured is kind of two pieces. There's senior YU alumni who are there to help you get an interview, and there are junior YU graduates who recently went through the interview process who are there to prepare you to, once you get the interview, how to ace it. So because YU has both of those pieces, it ultimately leads to a lot of success, and the majority, if not all of my friends who are going for finance internships and finance jobs upon graduating were able to get one because of that.
That's great. Congratulations on that. So, Benjamin, you talked about you being a fourth generation YU alum to go through these historic halls. You also talked about the benefits of our wide alumni network. Tell us about how it's impacted your life thus far.
Yeah, I've definitely benefited tremendously from the alumni network. I saw this when I was considering where I wanted to go to law school. You know, I visited several law schools. At all of them that I visited, there were YU alumni who were very happy to speak with me. I wound up fielding my personal statements by people who I met on different campuses, by uncles and other relatives who went to YU and knew what they did in YU to get where they wanted to go. And even later on, years down, 3 years down, 3 years out of YU, in the process of applying to post-law school jobs, I was in contact frequently with YU alumni. At the first thing I would do when searching a law firm to apply to, I would filter on the law firm who went to Yeshiva University, and I would send them an email saying, "I'm a fellow YU alum. Are you willing to have a conversation?" And those conversations helped me get interviews that ultimately got me the job where I'll be going. And I think the network, it's a real thing. I personally benefited from it, and I have many, many friends who've had similar experiences. The YU alumni, they've been through it, and they give back, and they're very, very happy to help, and they really do help.
That's great. Adam, you mentioned the dual curriculum here at YU, both taking Judaic studies and secular courses, and how it taught you time management skills and prepared you to transition to the work world. Talk a little about that.
Yeah, so something that comes up a lot, I like to talk to my colleagues who are just starting as analysts also. They talk about their school, and they talk about, Wednesdays used to be a crazy day for them. They had 3 classes, and, they started their day at 10:15, and it was like a brutal schedule. And then you talk about the schedule that Yeshiva University has, which is your day starting at 7:30, 8 o'clock. You could have shiur going, you have a lunch break, but you have shiur going until 3 p.m. or 1 p.m., depending on what program you're in. You could have classes going straight from 1 o'clock till very late at night, depending on your schedule. So some semesters were more relaxed, but definitely the busier semesters, your days are jam-packed. And if you're doing night Seder, and if you have to study late at night, or if you have club events, you could be going, you could be having 12, 14, 16-hour days here, which is something that, at the time I thought was crazy. Why am I doing this? But then starting to work with hours that are similar to that, if not worse, a little much worse, which Jonah will learn next year when he graduates. It really prepares you to be able to focus and work hard for hours at a time. And when I talk to my colleagues, that's something that they just didn't get at school. They had 3 classes a day, and that was a busy day, or 4 classes a busy day. Where at YU, you really have a full day schedule. You're making the most. If you're gonna do all of YU in 3 years, you're getting. It's really like 5 years experience of college is just jam-packed into 3 years or 4 years, whatever you end up doing. So that's a huge benefit to YU. You're getting a ton of information, you're getting a ton of class, a ton of the time in the base majors, and you're jamming it into a short period of time.
Adam, can you talk about your transition to YU from, it was at Atlanta, Georgia, growing up in the South, and then coming in learning up here in New York City?
So because I spent time in Eretz Yisrael, I made a lot of friends who are from the New York area, and they're wonderful and really hospitable to me. So a lot of times, like a typical question people from out of town have when considering YU is like, oh, I don't really know people, Shabbos is kind of hard, everyone goes home. So people are really nice and will invite you for Shabbos, and I went a lot of places, but I also stayed here a lot for Shabbos. I think one of the things I often highlight about YU is the older guys in the Beis Medrash, which I now try to be one of, that I met a lot of guys who served as like role models and mentors, but also who live here, and I got to spend Shabbos Sudas by and just talk to and get advice from, and Rebbeim. So I became very close with Rabbi Baruch Simon. At some point in my YU career, I think my third or fourth year, I was eating at his house on Shabbos no less than once every 2 weeks, at least. So I really met a really wonderful group of people who were really hospitable and made my time here fantastic. Like the transition was so easy. Obviously, the city environment versus growing up in Georgia is different, but you adjust to that. Washington Heights is a quieter part of the city, so not such a crazy transition.
Good to know. So it's a good segue, Shabbos. I want to ask our panelists now about their experience on Shabbos. Some of you have already mentioned it, but anyone that wants to chime in, how has your personal experience, your Shabbos experience on campus helped your YU experience?
I would say I'd have two different similar experiences from last year and this year. Last year I was in Reuben, so I was here all the time. I'm also out of town, so it was also COVID, so I stayed in every single Shabbos. This year I'm in an apartment nearby, so it's slightly different, but I think one of my most just fond memories of being at YU is the meals that we would have on Shabbos. Last year a bunch of my friends would just go to our kitchenette on our floor, and we would just eat meals there. We'd just have a good time, just about 5-6 of us, and we would have just some of my fondest memories at YU. Also, there's just a lot of programming going on, different davening times. You have a lot of different opportunities, but those Shabbos is where you really connect with your friends. It's just you and them, no phones, nothing else. It's really one of the best times to make and forge relationships, and I feel like I definitely have.
Anyone else want to
I started at YU before COVID hit, so I do have some of the experience of the pre-COVID Shabbosim. My first Shabbos at YU was my orientation Shabbos. For that Friday night, Mincha, Kabbalah Shabbos, and Maariv, we were all davening in Gluck, and there was nothing like that experience of every single student being in Gluck, davening together, singing Kabbalah Shabbos. It was so inspiring and uplifting. It really marked that orientation week, that feeling of being at the correct place for me. I knew then and there that I had for sure made the right decision. And then moving into the meals were amazing. I was sitting with friends. I made so many new friends. I came into YU, I didn't know anyone. By the end of my first week, I had already made so many new friends, so many new people, so many amazing people that I got to meet by coming here. I really solidified those relationships over Shabbos. I made sure to spend time with them. Every single Friday night that I stayed in, we would play board games. Some of my best memories from my first year in YU are from playing Settlers of Catan and a few other board games in the Reuben Lounge up until like 2 a.m. With some other friends. You meet the people you never would have met otherwise. You really get to make friendships that you otherwise never would have had the chance to make. Some of my best friends I made just by staying in for Shabbos and being in the right place at the right time, playing the right board games. Settlers is a must-have if you're coming to YU. I highly recommend you learn how to play if you don't know already. And then moving into this past year and being able to plan the IBC JSS Shabbaton that we had back in, I think it was March. It was right before Purim. It was Shabbos Zachor. We really tried to make the most of that Shabbos as we could. It was amazing. We had about 50 people in Weisberg Commons having a meal together, socially distanced but together. We were able to sing Shir HaMaalos all together for benching, and that was like one of our first moments back. I think I actually davened Kabbalah Shabbos. We sang L'Chadodi. Also, so amazing to be able to do that again. And then coming into this year, I'm in an apartment, so it's slightly different. But now I'm able to invite some of the first-year guys who might not know so many people to my apartment to have a smaller meal with me and my roommates, a couple of other friends, and really try to make sure that they feel welcome here. There's such a good community in the Heights, so many different options of where to daven, so many different types of people that you can meet that I otherwise just never would have gotten to know. I can't even describe how amazing Shabbos was to my YU experience, and I hope continues to be.
It is.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else want to chime in? Okay. The last question I have, and this is really open-ended. In front of you, you have the next generation of Jewish leaders. What advice did you wish you would have had 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago before coming to YU that you want to impart on this amazing group this morning?
I think advice that I would give is that you have to understand that YU is going to be whatever you make of it if you decide to come here. And you would think, for me, I went to TABC and TNEC, and I said, well, if I go to YU, I'm going to go to TABC a year in Israel, then YU. It's just the same thing over and over again. And that was a fear that I had, and that's not the case at all. There are so many opportunities that you get at Yeshiva University that you would never have, even if you had gone to a TABC or a TABC type school. You can really do anything here. I came in with the mindset I wanted to pursue finance, and I ended up taking classes about the metaverse and books on books and films on films and things that you just would never have expected to do. And there's such a broad range of things you can be doing here. I was on Model UN, and the only reason I did this because why not? I'm in this is my last year here. I may as well make the most of it. So to really have all these opportunities ahead of you, it's something you should think about what you want to do, and at the same time think about why not? There's so many things to come, and there are events every day, there are club meetings every day. Just why not? Just go for it. Do as much as you can while you're here and enjoy. So that's advice that I would give to anyone who's thinking about coming to YU now.
Okay, so please feel free.
Okay, so I have a couple. Number one's kind of a bit of a joke. Just make sure you know where the free food is. Adam mentioned all the club events. All the club events have tons of food with tons of leftover food. Gluck Sinks, ideal location for free food. There are at least 5 WhatsApp group chats solely dedicated to the free food by the Gluck Sinks. Just like a pro tip of advice for when you're here. Number 2 is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to get involved with something new. Don't be afraid to join something that you might not know much about yet. When I got here, I had no idea what Model United Nations was. But like Adam, I joined it, and now I've been doing it for 3 years, and I absolutely love it. For fencing, I had never fenced before in my entire life, but I was like, why not just join the fencing team? Let's see what happens. And I joined it, and it is one of the best parts of my YU experience now. There's nothing like being on a team. The sense of camaraderie and brotherhood that we have from being on that team together, traveling to our different meets, from doing the cheer before the meet to getting all excited with each other when we win, to every single moment of just being there together, fighting together, fencing, we do have swords. So it's just been so much of my YU experience has just been because I realized why be afraid to take that risk and make that next step? Just do it.
Just do it. I want to thank our current students and alumni this morning. Let's hear it for them. Thank you. So what you have in front of you are a prime example of the richness that is YU, so much so that they're willing to give up several hours on their Sunday morning to help out YU. We know that Baruch has barely any free hours in the day. All of our panelists truly embody the Torah values that are a core of who we are, and they do not wane over time. It further emphasizes that our robust alumni network of 70,000 strong and growing is a resource that is unique only to YU. They want to pay back their experiences. I truly hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day. I encourage you to speak to as many people as you can. Get as much information as you need to make the most informed decision. And of course, we hope that that decision is to come to YU. Thank you very much. Let's hear it for our panelists again.
Thank you, Chad. And thank you again to each and every one of our panelists for taking time on a Sunday to help show what makes our community, the YU community, and our education so very special. One of those things that makes YU and our education so very special is that we are both the yeshiva and a university. So at this time, I am pleased to introduce our Dean of Undergraduate Torah Studies, as well as a few other surprises, Rabbi Dr. Yosef Kalinsky.
Thank you so much, Ziggy. Good morning, everyone. I feel like I don't have much left to say after that excellent panel. They really covered so many aspects, probably every single aspect that I was going to touch on today. I'll try to frame it in a similar way as well. We'll start with this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha, we're introduced to Yosef HaTzadik. The beginning of the Parsha, we're told two things about Yosef. We're told that he has a ketones pasim, he has this multicolored jacket, and we are told about the dreams that he has. He has two different dreams. If you remember, if you heard the laning yesterday, he has a dream about the sheaves, about the stalks, 11 of them bowing down to him. And he has the dream as well, the celestial dream of the stars and the moons in the sky. How is it possible for one person to have two very, very different dreams? The dreams of the sheaves seem to be talking about worldly aspirations, of economic aspirations. At the same time, thinking about the stars and the moons, thinking about one's spiritual aspirations. How is Yosef able to embody both of these? Can Yosef become the CEO of the Egyptian empire and at the same time be known and maintain his aspect of Yosef HaTzadik, Yosef who is going to be that next link in the chain of our Mesorah with his spiritual aspirations? And Rosh Soloveitchik points out that it's true. Yosef was able to embody both of these at the same time, as exemplified by his Kesones Pasim. The multicolored jacket showed that he was very multifaceted. He was able to synthesize these two aspects of being in the world, of being out there, to being able to have a powerful position, and at the same time to maintain his tradition and his spiritual aspirations. In a nutshell, as you probably remember just hearing a few seconds ago, that is the vision here, our mission with each and every one of our students at Yeshiva University. I often comment, and now I can say it again in a resounding way, our students are more ambitious than students at other campuses. Our students spend much of their day involved in things that are important to them, and they learn the skill of time management. They also drink a lot of coffee. That, for sure, is something you're going to pick up here. We expect them to excel in both their yeshiva and their college studies. Many colleges can prepare you for a career, but there's nowhere in the world that can prepare you for your lives, not just as successful professionals, but as people with a moral compass, enriched with our sacred values and traditions. Looking at the students, our prospective students over here, think about that now is the time to prepare for the rest of your lives. And here is the place to do that. Surrounded by like-minded friends, guided by our rebbeim and our mashgichim and by our faculty, this is the place you want to decide who you want to become and where you want to go. You're not just entering a college, you're entering a warm and vibrant community, a caring community who cares about each of you individually. So welcome to Yeshiva University. If you're an alum, welcome back. Hopefully, many of the good things that you remember about your time here are still here and in place. And there have been some changes as well. We have many more faculty and staff interested about the individual growth of each student. We have 10 mashgichim on campus. We have dozens and dozens of programs each week to further your development as individuals. And as you'll see during the rest of the presentation, there are so many aspects of the programs, of our 4 undergraduate Torah Studies programs that we will discuss in the next few minutes, that have evolved and have changed and have enriched the lives of so many of us. So I'm going to call upon, as we do the next few minutes of this presentation, I have a few colleagues. They can come up to the stage so they can help me. We could put on the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, here we are. We have, yes, please. Okay, I want to introduce, I guess we'll go in this order. Okay, the order is changing. Rabbi, thank you. Okay, we have Rabbi Joshua Blass, a mashgiach in the yeshiva program. We have Rabbi Jonathan Green, the director of the JSS program. And we have Rabbi Benny Rofe, a mashgiach and faculty member of the IBC program. So also I'll remind you on your seats, you have two pieces of information. One is the guide to the Yeshiva undergraduate Torah experience. Here you'll see a lot of details about what we'll be discussing over the next few minutes. If you didn't catch something, if you want to follow up, names and faces of all the Torah studies faculty and staff are in here as well. And we also have a comparison chart. We're not going to get into too many of the weeds right now, but this comparison chart points out for you some of the very specific differences between the four Torah studies programs. Again, each of our students is going to be enrolled in one of the four Torah studies programs. If you're not familiar with all the names, you don't have to memorize them. We're not going to test you on them today, maybe next week. But just to keep in mind, the idea is that we have four Torah studies programs. As we say above, it's an education built upon relationships for life. Our faculty are interested not just in imparting information, of course they are, and they're experts in doing that, but they're also interested in the relationships with each of the students, and to understand them, and to have time with them, and to have office hours, to know what are your plans, what are your goals, where are you headed in life. We have academic aspirations, we have spiritual guidance, and we have dozens and dozens of programs each week, tailored for each of our students. The entire program is tailored to meet the needs of each student. So we have four programs, but we are also one program. We are one cohesive unit. The faculty works together, the students work together. The differences between the programs are just for you to decide what is going to be best for you each semester, each year that you're here on campus. So 2 words, and then I'll hand it over to my esteemed colleagues while you see some of the statistics on the screen here. Before a student attends Yeshiva University, the interview with myself or one of the other individuals here representing the yeshiva to decide what is the best program for you to be learning in. Now, whatever program you decide during that time, it can be changed. It can be changed from semester to semester. It can be changed from year to year. And you should know that we are interested in putting you in the right place. And even within the program, when I speak to students, it's about the schedule that you would like to be learning in and gaining the most from. For example, the MYP and the SBMP program, the Stone Beit Midrash program and the Mazer Yeshiva program, have an additional emphasis on chavrusa time, on paired learning in the Beis Medrash. If that is something that you're interested in doing, we will find the place, the shir, the rabbi, who will be able to be with you. When I meet with a student, I match up both their skill level and their personality, because you have to be able to click with your Rebbe. It's not just, oh, we think similarly. We have to be able to relate to each other. And we try to do both of those, and if it's not the perfect fit the first few days, then we find the perfect fit the next few days. The IBC and the JSS programs are more classroom-based. There are more variety of courses, which we'll be hearing right now from my colleagues to my right. So the first program that we're going to hear about, the Isaac Brewer College. Rabbi Rofe.
Good morning. Thank you, Rabbi Kalinsky, and welcome to Yeshiva University. It's great to see you all here. A little bit about the IBC program. My name is Benny Rofe. I'm a Rebbe and a Mashgiach Ruchani in the program. I had the privilege of teaching both Baruch and Max on stage. It's great to see you guys up here. You did a great job. So IBC, as Rabbi Kalinsky said, is one of the 2 programs that's not mostly in the Beit Midrash. It's more of a classroom setting. And one thing that makes the IBC program most unique is the diversity of students. We have the widest range in terms of students, in terms of interest, in terms of religious level, in terms of skill level. We try to very much cater the program to the needs and interests of our students. And our courses, the way the courses are taught, very much reflect the diversity of our students. So you can really, this is actually from our upcoming semester, what is being taught. Actually, this is currently being taught. I stand corrected. So whether it is a little bit of both. Okay, it's a mix. So whether it's halacha, whether it is machshava, whether it is Tanakh, Gemara, again, varying skill levels from intermediate to advanced. Whether it is more text-based, more discussion-based, there is a lot that you can tailor-make your schedule to based on what your interests are in terms of learning Torah. I tell all my students that this, unfortunately for many of us, our years at YU is one of the last chances we have to truly grow as much as we can before life gets much more complicated. And we try to create as many opportunities for our students to explore, based on their needs, based on their interests and their skill levels, different subjects within Torah. Not only is it just about what happens in the classroom setting and the diversity, again, of students, as well as course offerings and course styles, we also try to very much cultivate those relationships Rabbi Kalinsky mentioned. I've had Baruch and Max over my apartment many times for Shabbat.
Where do you live, Rabbi Rofe?
I live 3 blocks away. I live on 188th Street. Short commute, Baruch Hashem. That's one of the reasons why I haven't left the Heights for about 15 years. Yeah, I love YU. But yeah, I have students over all the time. I have a dating chabur on Wednesday nights in my apartment for students in IBC and beyond. We very much, our focus is on not only the intellectual, but also the emotional and the relationships that matter down the line. I'm very blessed to be in touch with a lot of my students. One of my students is getting married today. His wedding is today. I was in Miami last week for a student of mine who got married. The relationships go far beyond YU while you're here, and that's a little bit that makes IBC unique. If you have more questions about the program specifically, feel free to say hello, and I'd love to answer your questions more in depth.
Excellent. Rabbi Green.
Just a pro tip before we even start. Baruch told me he wanted me to let everyone know there's coffee for anybody who needs also. There wasn't when you first came in, but across the walkway in First Hall, there is coffee for those people who need to keep the day going. Benny did not mention, or Rofe did not mention, something that we do both in IBC and JSS, which I think is amazing, is something called Chabura. Everyone, first year, when they come into our program, because of this, knowing each student individually, we have a program where that first semester, you meet with each student in a small chabur with a Rebbe, and we get to know our students because they're going to be our students and part of our family for the next 3 or 4 years. What makes JSS unique is that we are the beginner level program in Yeshiva University. Because, and I stress this, I think that we are the icing on the cake of the fact that there is a Jewish program, there's a Judaic Studies program, there's a yeshiva for every single student in YU. And even those students that didn't have the opportunity to go to day school or yeshiva in high school, they can come to JSS and have that relationship for the 4 years they're in YU and also afterwards. And that's inside the classroom and, of course, outside the classroom. There are amazing classes, amazing teachers. We have our students over on Shabbos. We have our own unique Shabbos programs, as Baruch mentioned. There is sometimes we'll mix up on Shabbos and do an IBC and JSS Shabbaton at the same time that there's a YP Shabbaton, because everyone has different Shabbos needs, and we'll do that as well as, and you don't say where I live. I live in Far Rockaway, which is if you get on the A train now and go all the way to the other end, you can make it there. But we'll also have guys over for Shabbos, because every Rebbe is there for life. And that's really what we do in JSS and all the programs. And
Can you mention a few words about the types of students in JSS, where they come from?
No, because I don't have enough time, and I can't mention a few words. But there was once a program, I'll give you, they come from all across the globe and all across the different levels of Judaic knowledge, from beginner level, where we're teaching guys really the basics, to we have 2 Talmud, 2 Gemara Shiurim in our program as well. And there was one point where I think Rabbi Berman's first year, where he came to visit JSS, and the guys gave Rabbi Berman, to welcome him, a bracha in their native language. And I think we had 8 different languages of guys who gave him a bracha. It's a unique experience where not only do you get to meet new friends, but you have a great place to go for vacation, winter break, to see their family. So once again, we're all here all morning, all afternoon. We'd love to hear more and talk to you more about our programs individually.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Blass, Rabbi Blass. I'm one of the mashgichim for the yeshiva program. And basically what a mashgiach does in yeshiva is to try to be, I guess, the overseer of all of the students when it comes to their spiritual life, their emotional life, their psychological life, just to be the person who's there, who's not giving a shir yomi, a daily shir, but is involved in the students in every single piece of their life. Speaking with them, giving hadracha, learning with them, giving shiurim on a whole range of topics. As my wonderful colleagues mentioned, constantly over at our homes for Shabbosim or for meals or for other things of that nature as well. So I want to tell you just one thing. I've been here, I know most people in this room. I came to YU in January of 1992, 30 years ago. I've not left in those 30 years, more or less, which sounds a little bit sad in certain ways, spending your entire life on Amsterdam Avenue. But every time I think, you know what, I'm ready to move on to something else, to a different position, a different place of life, I think to myself that there's truly no place that I would be so excited to be a part of as I would the YU Beis Medrash and the YU community as a whole. And obviously, there's an amazing Beis Medrash. You walk into a Beis Medrash anytime. It's vibrant, it's alive, it's meaningful, but you can find that in a lot of places. There's chesed that's being done, but there's chesed that's done in other places as well. There are chaburas, but chaburas are found in Lakewood and every other yeshiva. I stay in for Shabbos often. The Shabbos environment is incredible, but that's also true by other places as well. So what is it that makes a person feel, I'll probably speak on behalf of Rabbi Green and Rabbi Rofei and Rabbi Berman and others as well, that when we come in here every single day, there's a sense of passion. And I think from my perspective as a mashgiach, sitting down really on a daily basis, multiple times a day with students who come over and they say, Rabbi Blas, I want to have a truly meaningful life. I want to learn, I want to become a Talmid Chacham, I want to support my family, I want to do something in the world, I want to contribute to Klal Yisrael, I want to contribute to the universe. How do I go about at age 20, 21, 22, 23 and map out my life so that I can look back on my life with a sense of pride, with a sense of purpose, with a sense of having accomplished and fulfilled whatever my own destiny is? That is so beautiful about what we do here every single day. Cultivating that, addressing that, shaping that. And I challenge you to find that anywhere else, where people leave here with that sense of mission for Parnasa, for learning, for the world, and for Klal Yisrael. And to be a part of that, and to see that, and in some small way to help nurture that, is such a great blessing for all of us who are on the stage, and all of us in this amazing yeshiva. And I really can't wait until I have an opportunity to greet some of you when you come down here down the road, and we can sort of go through that journey together. Have a great, great day, and enjoy your experience here.
Thank you, Rabbi Blas. I'll just finish up over here. My next slide might be my favorite slide. We, in some ways, draw a web around each of our students, thinking about all the different types of opportunities and personalities that are looking to forge that relationship and guide our students forward. So if you look at a typical student, this is just one of our regular students here at Yeshiva. He has all these touch points, all these types of people who are looking to connect with him. We don't expect him to connect with every single one of them. And what I tell students during orientation is at least find one of those people. Find one of them, connect with them, use them, spend time with them. Whether it's a mashgiach, whether it's your Rebbe, whether it's the older guy in your shir, whether it's a madrich. I don't think that was something that was mentioned yet today, so I'll say it for a second. We have a madrich program and a madricha program for the women, which is over 80% of our students spend at least a year studying in Israel before coming to Yeshiva University. What we do is we match up an older student. Let's just take an example of a yeshiva. I want to give me a name of a yeshiva where you're thinking about going next year? Where are you going? Where are you thinking about going? Netiv. Okay. Netiv, live, give. So let's say you're thinking about going to Netiv next year. We have many Netiv older students here, and we actually have 2 or 3 madrichim right now, that when you come to campus after a year or 2 or 3, whatever it is in Netiv, they will say, hey, I just was in Netiv a year or 2 ago. Let me tell you the ropes. Let me tell you how you figure out how do you make your way around here. And we have that for almost every single one of the yeshivot. So it's another arm, it's another hug, it's another way of interacting with you. Our RAs, which also weren't emphasized enough today, our resident advisors are tremendous. On each of the floors in each of the dorm buildings, we have individuals who are capable, who are caring, who are intelligent, who are here also to make the best of your time here in the dormitory. We have older people in the Beit Midrash, we have academic advisors and academic support. And there are more circles, these are just some of them. But just to think about that for a second, all these people are looking after you. They want to make sure that you are guaranteed that you're going to excel here at your time here in yeshiva. We're going to skip Shabbos. We heard enough about Shabbos. And this is that chart. And if there are any time for any questions, otherwise I'll give it back to our Mr. Mark Zarnis. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi Kalinsky, Rabbi Green, Rabbi Rofen, Rabbi Blass, for giving us a taste, just a taste, of the many different Torah and spiritual opportunities available in our yeshiva. And as we conclude our program this morning, and as Rabbi Green said, we promise there's coffee ready for you outside. I wanted to mention, just like the President did, that while this may be the start of your academic journey, this doesn't have to be the end. And I know this is looking past. The President mentioned that YU has recently opened over 20 graduate programs and degrees in the hottest fields in the market, and we will continue to do so as the market evolves, whether that be in OT, PA, artificial intelligence, and much more that the President mentioned. So your decision today does not have to end after undergraduate. You can continue in the YU family for many, many years via many of our pathway programs. But before we get there, it's important to note, as Rabbi Kalinsky just did, that many of our students take a gap year in Israel. Of course, those of you that are not considering taking a gap year, we welcome you directly to our campus and to our Batei Midrashim. But for those of you who will be spending a gap year in Israel, it gives me great pleasure as we conclude our program this morning to introduce the Executive Director of YU's Israel's campus, Mrs. Stephanie Strauss.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone here, and the last thing I want to do is get between you and coffee. Stephanie Strauss, Executive Director of Yeshiva University in Israel and our S. Daniel Abraham Israel program. With me today is one of my colleagues, Rabbi Josh Froelich, who heads up our recruitment team. And we're thrilled to see everybody here getting to know Yeshiva University, the flagship Jewish university. Rabbi Berman spoke a lot about gateways and pathways. We believe very strongly in the YU Israel superhighway. And so while we embody all of our Torah values, I may be a little partial to Torah Zion, forgive me. So I'm here to talk to you today about how Yeshiva University and the S. Daniel Abraham program are here to ensure that your sons will have a year of meaning, a year of valuable, enriching experiences on their pathway back to Yeshiva University. By enrolling on our S. Daniel Abraham Israel program, you are ensuring that your son will have access to a full array of benefits. As enrolled YU students on our program, you may be eligible for federal and state aid through filing a FAFSA. Your son will earn an academic credit and an academic transcript from Yeshiva University as part of his experience at Yeshivot. Lastly, our staff takes great pride in getting to know all of the students that are here in Israel with us at our partner yeshivot and seminaries on our program. We advocate for them throughout the year, work with them, offer academic advisement, career guidance, an array of other opportunities, extracurricular and so on. We have them engage with YU personalities, Torah personalities, educational people, our deans, administrators who come back and forth, get to know your sons as well. We're proud of our affiliation with over 40 yeshivot and seminaries that are on the YU Israel program. And we are here to ensure that they provide an educationally rich and safe environment for all of our students. Every school on the YU program submits to a rigorous academic review and evaluation that we go in to make sure that they are providing everything that they say that they are providing and provide a standard of excellence that we are comfortable with. And it's thanks to that rigorous evaluation that we are able to award academic credit to over 1,000 students studying at our partner yeshivot every year. So now that you're here at our annual Israel Fair, we'd like you to take the time to get to know not only Yeshiva University, but to think about this year in Israel that they're going to have. Whether this is your first child going off to Israel, your fourth, this is the time to kick the tires and ask the questions of the representatives that you're going to meet over these next few hours and weeks. For those of you who are joining us virtually, we encourage you also to visit the YU-sponsored INY platform, Israel Next Year, that will have also virtual Israel fairs on December 12th and December 19th. Allowing your son to spend a year in Israel is an important decision to make, and it's important to give him a very powerful, rich journey. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So choosing the right school has to be about what's going to embody the goals and aspirations that your son has for himself. So it's time to ask those questions. What are the questions that you want to ask? Let me help you out. In what environment will he best grow in critical thinking and in textual skills and in gaining some independence? What program will provide him the opportunity with engaging with other Israelis and nurture a deep love of Eretz Yisrael? Consider educational parameters of the learning experience, whether a heavy Gemara-based and Chavruta-style learning is right for him in 3 Sidarim a day, or whether he's looking for something else, a more frontal-based approach with a range of Jewish studies. Ask how much of the day is in the classroom or Beit Midrash, and how much of the day is experiential, beyond the brick and mortar of the classroom or Beit Midrash. And there are other administrative questions you might want to ask. How does the calendar balance the time of in and out of yeshiva for Shabbatot? And what sort of supervision is there when the students are out of yeshiva? What are their metrics for success? And where do their students go after yeshiva? Of course, we hope it'll be at Yeshiva University. As our team is based in Israel, we hope to be among the first faces your son sees when he gets off that plane and comes to visit us in Eretz Yisrael and starts his year off. We'd like them and you to know that we are there and available at all times. The students have our cell phone numbers and can reach us whenever it is convenient for them to talk. And we'll discuss with them many other things over the course of the year, some trajectories, best paths, courses of study, and we'll end the year with registration for their classes in one-on-one sessions with our team of deans and academic advisors right in our Israel office. So with that, we'll be moving around the campus throughout the day. We'll be around to answer any questions that you may have, and we'll wish you a fantastic day getting to know Yeshiva University. As our day comes to a close, please make sure you access your programs and take advantage of our breakout session, the clubs, extracurriculars, lunches, and of course our Israel Fair beginning at 2 p.m. Thank you very much and have a great time.
Welcome to Yeshiva University's Open House. My name is Bob Friedman, and I am the University Director of Student Finance. Thank you for joining us. I hope to impart information to you today about financing education beyond high school and the things that you really need to pay attention to as you move through the process. These are the list of topics that we're going to touch on today. Things like what is financial aid. We're going to start with some basic definitions, cost of attendance and expected family contribution, all of these things that you've seen used before. I'll try to define those things for you and give you information that you're going to need to know as you move through the process. Where does the aid come from? How do I get access to the aid? And of course, what happens when my son or daughter travels to Israel and studies to Israel? How does that come into play? We're going to talk about all those things today. But to start with, we really need to come up with you need to understand a definition of financial aid, right? Everybody has their own definition of financial aid. And for most people, it's the first 2 bullets on the left, scholarships and grants, right? That's not a mystery. Because that's what we all want as parents, as students. We all want the scholarships and grants. Why? Because on the right side of the circle, you'll see it called gift aid. And that's exactly what it sounds like. If you qualify for it, you get it. You don't have to do anything else. You already exhibited the behavior to be eligible for those, whether it's based on need, which we'll talk about, or whether it's based on merit. That's what we all want. That's what the student wants. That's what a parent definitely wants. You also need to know that financial aid does include loans. We'll talk briefly about student and parent loans today. And we'll talk about some employment opportunities in the federal work-study program, right? That's also called self-help aid because there is behavior necessary. If you take out a loan, it must be repaid, for example. And in order to be eligible for the federal work-study program, you have to work, right? As is true with employment in general, right? And then there's this definition of financial need, a very, very difficult and confusing concept, right? But this is what Yeshiva University's definition is and what most schools across the country are using. If you take your cost of attendance and subtract your expected family contribution, you arrive at your financial need. Now, let's break that down a little bit, starting with the cost of attendance, right? Basically, cost of attendance falls into two categories. On the left of your screen, you have your direct costs, and on the right of your screen are your indirect costs. And mom and dad, indirect is just a fancy word for out of pocket. So don't let that throw you. Again, the direct costs, tuition and fees. Yeah, you know, everybody's going to charge tuition and fees. We can't get away from that. Room and board. If your son or daughter lives on campus, you're going to be charged for room and board as well. If your son or daughter does not live on campus, they live at home, for example, then clearly the school's not going to charge you for food and housing, but some of your other indirect costs will go up, like transportation and out-of-pocket food cost will go up. So there's an interplay there depending on whether or not your son or daughter lives on campus. And I also list health insurance because everybody needs to pay attention to health insurance. It is not cheap, you will not miss it, and everybody needs to be covered. If your son or daughter is covered under your plan, then you will want to waive out of the university's health insurance plan. You'll see more information about that during the enrollment process. Yes, your indirect costs are things like books, a computer, a laptop, like I mentioned before, transportation costs. All of those things will vary based on the student. Some students spend more money than others. You know, mom and dad, in your family, who spends more money and who saves more money. So all of these things will vary from student to student. We put all of this together, and that is what we're trying to do, and when we come up with your cost of attendance. And then we subtract from this the expected family contribution, or EFC. It's really just an index. It's not a number that you're going to be expected to pay, but we're going to use this index to help us allocate funds to your sons and daughters, right? It's in the blue box, there's a student contribution. In the red box, there's a parental contribution. So what goes into the expected family contribution? This is really what families want to know. And on this screen, these are the items, the bullet points. Really, it's the top 3 bullet points that go into determining need. And the first bullet talks about how many people in your household, right? So they have a picture of a roof and 4 people in the household, and then they ask how many of those people are in college, right? Well, guess what, folks? The feds are, by asking the questions the way they do, they are recognizing that a family of 6 or 7 or 8 is a lot different than a family of 3, 4, or 5. And we know, financially, we know that to be true. So, and then when you have how many people in college, then you're allowed to, they're also recognizing again that if you have more than one student in college, we already know you have one student in college, that's the one that you are, who is applying, who might be a senior in high school right now, who is about to apply, but in future years you may have more than one in college, and they are also recognizing that and giving you an opportunity to indicate that. Those are seemingly innocent questions on the FAFSA, but they're vitally important that you get those right. The next bullet is adjusted gross income for 2020. Well, that's the last year. 2020 is the last year that we've all filed our tax returns. Nobody has filed for 2021 yet. So that's the information that you're going to be using. In fact, you're going to hopefully use the data retrieval tool, which is a link from the FAFSA to the IRS. And you'll be able to pull that information in straight from your tax return without having to data enter anything. So when you get the opportunity to use the data retrieval tool, or DRT, use it. Right? That's a tip. The third bullet, investments, assets, and business value. And I posted 4 paragraphs here on screen because there's some nuances to investments, right? First, investments include real estate, they say, but do not include the value of your home that you live in. Right? So what are they doing? One fell swoop, they take your home off the table, and you don't have to include the value of your home. That's a tremendous benefit to families. So the FAFSA does not ask you your home value. Okay? That's what real estate are they talking about then? Other real estate. If you have a second home, a condo, a timeshare, a piece of land, piece of property, yes, you need to include those things, just not the student's primary residence. Okay? If you have no other real estate, then the answer is 0. Next, they definitely talk about 529 college savings plans, and you do need to include the value of all 529 college savings plans for all of your kids. Third, they say it again, investments do not include the home you live in or the value of life insurance, so that's another benefit. But they also, in another line here, exclude your retirement plans, a 401k, an IRA, a KEO. Any money in a formally labeled retirement plan, you do not have to include on the FAFSA, or a 403B if you work for a not-for-profit organization like Yeshiva University is, and I have a 403B plan, I don't have to include the value of my retirement plan. Okay? So what the feds are saying here are, how are we going to determine your need? Well, we're going to figure out how many people are in your household, how many of those people are in college, what's your income in a given calendar year? In this case, the most recent one is 2020. And what are your investments, assets, and business value, but not your home and not your retirement accounts. Then we go to work. Then we try to figure out a family's quote-unquote need. Not a perfect science, but we are collecting similar information from all families. Not all information, but similar information from all families. In the last paragraph, I just put up here on the screen that you also do not have to include the value of your business if your family owns or controls more than 50% of it and you have fewer than 100 full-time employees. So that does come into play at Yeshiva University, and that's why I left it there. I wanted everybody to know, if you're a sole proprietor, if you own your own business, if you're a doctor or a dentist and you have your own business and it's a small business and it's all yours and you have 2 or 3 employees, you don't have to include the value of your business as well. It does come into play for YU families, and is why I wanted to mention it. Where does the money come from? Now that we know what goes into the FAFSA, so where does the money come from? Certainly from the federal government. And also from the state government. All states have a grant program, right? The thing with state aid, though, is it's not portable. So if you live in New York and you go to a New York school, you can get a state grant if you qualify. But if you live in New Jersey or Maryland and go to a New York school, you will not get state aid. And the same thing is true with the rest of the states across the country, in Illinois, in California, Texas, Florida. You're not going to be able to take your state grant across state lines. You have to stay in state in order to use it. The biggest source of aid on this page, though, is going to come from the university and the college, and Yeshiva University is no different, right? A year ago, we spent $46 million leveling the playing field in trying to make YU affordable, which we did successfully for many, many, many YU families. We received $2 million from the federal government. From our state government, we received about $1 million, and all that money is very, very important and vital, but it's the university dollars that is the make or break money for you, mom and dad. That's what you need to put yourself in line for, and that's why you need to follow the steps of the financial aid process throughout. The Pell Grant for the current year, for the most recent year, is $6,500. The TAP grant in the third bullet is $5,500. So that's a lot of money. That's about $12,000 between those two programs. But in order for YU to make YU affordable for a family, we then have to come right over top of that and award $30,000, $35,000 in addition to that to make YU affordable. So that's what I mean by the make or break money. That's what you need to put yourself in line for by following the steps. Folks, certainly employment's very important. I happened to work my way through college. I know many of you, if we took a poll, many of you did the same thing. It's not unique to me. But a work-study employment, even if it's a couple hours a week, but this typically is what students use for pocket money, maybe to buy books. Definitely, I'm a big fan of students working in the summertime, working and saving money in the summertime as opposed to working and spending. And also you need to pay attention to things like being an RA, a resident advisor, like a dorm counselor, because at YU, if you wind up becoming a dorm counselor, you get a free room, and that could be upwards of $10,000, a discount off your bill. So you still have to work, you still have to do the job, but it's a tremendous savings on when you get the invoice, and it will not go unnoticed, as I'm sure. And we do need to talk about student loans, you know, and I know that this is not a very popular topic, but you need to know what's out there and what's available to students and to parents. This, what you see on screen, is the Stafford Federal Direct Loan Program. This is the guaranteed student loan program that is available to students really no matter what school they go to, right? I say at the top, budgeting is vital. Yes, please budget your money. If you're not budgeting your money, I might argue that you don't really know if you need the loan in the first place. And if you don't need the loan, don't take it, right? I hope everybody hears me saying that. It's definitely an investment in the future. You know, if you have to borrow to achieve your bachelor's degree so that you can get into the graduate program of your choice, the medical school of your choice, the law school of your choice, then you're investing in yourself with your undergraduate degree. But what's the hooks? What are the big hooks here on student loans? Why are they so popular? Well, it's the third bullet, right? Repayment, you don't have to make payments on the loans while the student is in school, right? So it says repayment begins 6 months after your education is finished. And we're not just talking about your undergraduate education. You know, we know, mom and dad, that our students will go on and get multiple degrees in their lifetime. Undergrad to law school, undergrad to med school, undergrad to a social work program, or the School of Psychology, or many other programs that a student can, well, they don't have to make payments as long as they are in a program. So it doesn't stop once your undergraduate is finished. And look how much they offer you, right? Notice the feds in the left-hand columns. You'll see the grade in college, and then you'll see, it says might be subsidized, right? So what does that word subsidized mean, right? Subsidized is speaking to interest. So if your loan is subsidized and you don't have to make payments on it, then the federal government is giving you money. As a freshman, $3,500, as a sophomore, $4,500, as a junior and a senior, $5,500 each year. And you don't have to make payments on it, nor are you being charged interest for it if the loan is subsidized. For how long? 4 years, 4.5 years. 7.5 years if you go to law school, maybe 9 or 10.5 years if you're in med school. So the feds are going to give you money and not ask you for payments and not charge you any interest while the student is in school. That's why the student loan program is so popular in the United States of America. Right. And notice how the feds give you a little less at the beginning, $3,500 as a freshman, but $5,500 as a senior, more at the end, because they know that if you make it from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior year, that you're going to graduate. And the feds know that already. So that's why they give, if you don't make it from freshman to sophomore year, then your loan indebtedness is in check, and they should be able to cover that. But mom and dad, they're not speaking to Yeshiva University students, right? We know your sons and daughters are going to persist. So, but that is the federal loan program, and that's why I pointed out to you. What are the costs? I just told you there's no interest on the loan if it's subsidized. In the most recent year, the interest rate is 3.73% once the loan gets to repayment. I wish it was lower, mom and dad. I wish it was 1 or 2%, but 3.73 is actually not too bad. We do lobby for lower interest rates all the time, but 3.73 is where we land for the most recent rate. It's fixed for the life of the loan, and then there's the fee. The fee is 1%. Technically it's 1.057. But 1% is $10 on 1,000. If you borrow $3,500, your fee is $35. It's not breaking the bank. So that's the cost of the loan. No penalties for paying it off early. Even though on screen it says repayment period is between 10 and 30 years, usually it's 10 or less, folks. You don't need to take out these loans over 30 years. That's what we find. These are federal loans. There's protections with the loans. It's not Citibank or Sallie Mae or a private lender. The federal government has loan forgiveness programs for teachers, right, who we know are not going to make the salaries that other students in other sectors are going to make. That's why they have a loan forgiveness program for teachers and for public service, etc. So there's information there for you, but that's why the student loan program is so popular. And there's even a loan for parents, right? But notice a couple of differences. These are federal loans too, and you can borrow up to the cost of education. There is a credit check, not like the student loans that are guaranteed, but because you can borrow any amount you want up to the cost of attendance, there is a credit check involved, and the feds will walk you through that, and quickly, right? They'll do it on screen. You'll know like immediately. It's not going to take weeks and weeks. It's a fixed interest rate also, but look at the rate. It's 6.28. It's almost 3 points higher than the student loan. So, that hurts. And look at the fee is 4.2%, not the 1% anymore. So that also hurts that the fee is so much higher. Folks, if you don't need the parent loan, many people could beat this on their own, with their own home equity line of credit or something like that. Go ahead and beat it, please. But for many people, this will be the best loan that they can get. So please, I just want you to know what's available to you out there. If you're $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 short at the end of the whole discussion, then this is typically what parents turn to. Okay, so folks, how do we get access to all this aid? I've mentioned the FAFSA a couple of times already, but this is what it is. It's the free application for federal student aid. I try to pause after I say free because we don't want you to pay to file this form. If you find yourself paying, you're not at the right website. The only website, and you'll see it consistently here on the next couple of slides, is studentaid.gov. This is the filing season has begun. For example, for the 22-23 academic year, the filing season has already begun. The key is, when does the college want you to file by, right? Aid is awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. So meet all the deadlines. Any deadline that the school has, make sure you meet it, right? Don't argue with them. Make sure you submit the form or any forms that they're asking for by the deadline, because that will put you in line to get the maximum amount of financial aid as possible. And again, what's financial aid? You know, grants, scholarships, loans, work study. That's what you want, right? This is what the form looks like. It is live right now for the 22-23 academic year. If you're starting the process out, you click the top button. If you're a returning user, then you're logging in, no different than anything else like your bank account. How do you set up an account? You're going to be asked to set up these things called the FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID number. So folks, you'll need two. The student will need their own FSA ID, and really that's what you're logging into. That's what the student is logging into, their account. And one parent will need their own FSA ID, right? Folks, mom and dad, if you have more than one student in college and you're filing more than one FAFSA this year, you can use your FSA ID on both, right? But each student will have and need their own. This is where you would go to sign up for one, but if you go to studentaid.gov, that's going to be the first step. They're going to push you right to there to go do that. And here are some helpful hints about filing the FAFSA. You got to file the FAFSA every single year. I'm sorry, right? I wish this was a one and done kind of thing, but it's not. In subsequent years, you're going to be filing a renewal. It will be easier, I promise, in years 2, 3, and 4 of undergrad than it is in year 1 of undergrad. So you got to file every single year. Also, if I mentioned this already too, but if you have more than one student in your household in college, each of them must file their own FAFSA. Okay, it can be done on a mobile app. Never thought I would say this, but 5 years ago we were telling people not to use the mobile app. But today we are telling people to use the mobile app because it's much, much better. It's clean, it's neat, and it works. So if you're, I'm still a fan of sitting at a computer and filling out the FAFSA, but if I know the young folks today love to do everything on their phones, and it works. So go ahead. Also, I mentioned the data retrieval tool earlier, and please use the DRT. It will help you in the long run, right? The feds, when they send the school the information, there will be a code, and it will tell us that the information came directly from the IRS. That will prevent the need for you having to turn your tax return in at any point, because we have the live data from the IRS. So it's to your benefit to use the data retrieval tool. It will ask you whether or not you want to use it, so please just say yes and use the tool. There are a couple of situations where you can't use the data retrieval tool, like if you're married, filing separately, and a couple other situations. But for the overwhelming majority of you, you will be able to use the DRT. Also, folks, don't stress on a question. They're going to ask you a lot of questions, and if the answer does not apply to, if the question does not apply to you and the answer is 0, then just write 0 and move on to the next question, okay? Don't get hung up on things that you should have done or didn't do. Just put a 0 and move on to the next question, okay? In our example that we're working with today, we know that things happen. And certainly in the COVID era, there was lots of income changes and unemployment and people losing jobs and people changing jobs and people going from one industry to another industry, or even in the same industry, but having to take a job for a lower amount. Okay, so we get that. And what happens when there's just some examples on screen here, but the loss of employment or income is probably the biggest one that we have to deal with. Right? What we want you to do is document everything that's happened in terms of income and send it to us, send it to the school, right? If it asks you for your 2020 income information, we know that by the time your son or daughter gets to campus and you're paying your first bill in 2022, your financial life could be completely different. And we get that. And the feds get that too. That's why they allow a school, properly documented, to change your income information, right? You could, for example, send me your final pay stub from your old job. You could send me, I received unemployment benefits for 4 or 5 months. Here's my statement, properly documented. Hey, and now look, I have a new job, but it's only 70 or 75% of my old salary, and here's my most recent 2 pay stubs. Everything I just described is documentable. We'll get it, we'll review it, we will follow up with you if we have more questions or need more documents, and then the feds allow the school, they don't allow you, nor do they do it themselves, they allow the school to go in and update your information on the FAFSA, right? So that's what we mean by, well, life happens. There are circumstances out there that may force us to make an adjustment to your FAFSA, and we will. We do it regularly, and we're happy to do it. I also want to point out that we have something called private school tuition form. In the bottom right, there's a private K through 12 bubble. Nowhere on the FAFSA do they ask you any information about what you're paying for your K through 12 tuitions. And we know, Mom and Dad, that you've been paying year after year after year, and it doesn't stop. You're probably still paying K through 12 tuitions. Well, we have a form for that at YU, and we will look at your K through 12 tuitions when evaluating you for institutional scholarship. Again, there's a separate form on our website. Any admission staff, or if you go to our website, or any of our admission friends will be able to point you in the right direction. So please get that information over to us as well as a supplement to the FAFSA. Right? Folks, I've put on the screen 3 websites for you. First of all, you know, everything I've told you today about the FAFSA, about grants and loans and the process, you can go look it up yourself at finaid.org. Fantastic website, huge search engine for private scholarships. Also the College Board, I listed on the screen, and fastweb.com. Again, huge private scholarship search websites, and free. I think one of the keys with all 3 of these sites is that you don't need to pay. If you find yourself reaching to pay for a scholarship search engine, stop. Don't do it. There's too many free resources out there, and good free resources for you to be paying for somebody else, paying $250 for somebody to search for scholarships for you that may not go anywhere. So please use one of those. Of course, the College Board are the people who put on the SAT. They have tremendous search engine if you're just looking for colleges too. But this is about private scholarship searches, and fastweb.com is probably the biggest one out there as well. So folks, this is our timetable. This is YU's typical timetable year in and year out. We want you to file the FAFSA by February 1st. Really, I'd love for you to file by January 1st. That way we can get a head start and get a jump on evaluating you. And as soon as you're admitted, we're going to get a financial aid award letter in your hands. That's our goal, right? For you to get admitted. The admission office will let you know what kind of merit scholarship you might be eligible for right away. And then we are going to give you your need-based financial aid package as soon as possible. Once you have that award letter in hand, now you can determine the net cost, right? That's what you really want to know. What's the net cost to me, right? Not the sticker price. What you need to know is that only 2 out of 10 students at YU actually pay the sticker price, right? So the question is, if you're one of the 8 out of 10, then the question is, what is your net cost? That's where we'd like to put you in sometime around February 1st, hopefully before, or not too much after that. Then you're going to know what's the net cost to me. Yes, that's where you want to wind up. And of course, by the 1st of May, you have to do something. You have to pay your deposit. So in order for us to start this whole process, in order for us to land on May 1st with your deposit, then we have to start this process at the very latest by February 1st, if not earlier than that. Also, folks, please don't wait till May 1st to pay. If you're going to pay your deposit online, make it April 30th or April 29th, just in case the internet has an issue, so you won't be hating us. So please, don't wait till the very last second to pay. And yes, of course, what if your son or daughter is going off to Israel in year 1, right? Well, of course, we have the S. Daniel Abraham Israel program. In our present year, we have over 630 men and women, first-year students, freshmen, studying in Israel at over 40 yeshivas and seminaries. All of those students, if they're eligible for any federal or state aid, can use it to help pay for the year in Israel. We're going to offer you very flexible payment options, 10-month payment plan where you can pay us over the 10 months and YU passes all that money on to the school in Israel. You certainly can use your 529 college savings plan. That's what you've been saving it for, to use it. So in this case, if you're on our Israel program, you can use your 529 to pay the Israel tuition. What a benefit. There is something called a 1098T. It's similar to a 1099 or a W-2 that the school is required to give each student to see if you're eligible for a tax credit. Your accountant should be asking you for that 1098T, should be saying, hey, don't you have an 18-year-old college kid now? Where's the 1098T? So your son or daughter will receive one from, even for the year in Israel. So that could be of benefit to you as well. And yes, you get all your credits on one transcript when you go through our program, which is a benefit to you when you're going on to grad school. You're not thinking about that right now, but it is not insignificant. And then finally, I've given you the Masa Israel website. Masa is an Israeli government agency, a quasi-Israeli government agency that promotes students from all over the world, including Americans, to go and travel in Israel. And they do give away sometimes a couple $100, but I've seen $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 happen as well. So that's the website, and you should visit them as well. So we totally encourage that, and we visit students while they're in Israel on our program, along with our staff. And folks, on screen is our contact information. So we are open from 9 to 5:30, Monday to Thursday, 9 to 2:30 every Friday, each Friday. And of course, that's Eastern Time. Our phone number is there, our email address is there, our website is there. We encourage you to please reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to make this experience better for you and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for joining us. Please visit the landing page to join our academic breakout sessions.